Hi everybody, my name is Laurent Bogossian. I'm French. I live and work in Marseille, which is a town of southeast of France. I'm a professional coach, and I'm also an author, as I wrote a few management and coaching books. And and I'm also a management consultant. Today I'm going to give you a presentation about legitimacy and recognition at work, and we will discuss the fact that a misunderstanding between these two words can lead to harsh motivational issues, and we can see how to avoid this kind of issues, helping employees to build up their career by filling in the shell of their post, rather than building the career upon a title, a position, or a label. That, first of all, if you allow me, first thing first, I would like to set up the context of the case study I'm going to present to you, and which, as a matter of fact, which context is strongly related to my work and to my personal story. So this is a digital view of Marseille, which is my town, and I used to work for the local council of this town, as I was a public servant. I used to work as an engineer in ITs, computers and networks, and as a manager. During 10 years, I built up a method which is kind of a coaching process to help people to pass some exams. These exams were designed to get them to manager position in different kind of divisions, which can be very administrative, like legal, human resources, HR, or for example, financials. But it could be also technical divisions like streets, roads, buildings, ITs, transport, for example, and so on and so forth. What happened is that in 2009 I decided to leave my position as a manager and as a public servant. I became a coach, but I developed my method, my coaching program, on a national range, and that was very important because as I developed it on a national range, I had the opportunity to meet with hundreds of people through coaching sessions, but also email and social networks exchanges. I had to answer to some questions from people. Sometimes I met people in meetings or in seminars and so on and so forth. And because I had a lot of encounters, it helped me to have great material for this case study I'm going to present to you. On the first level of observation, what I figured out about motivation at work and about this exam is that passing the exam wasn't relevant at all regarding motivation for some people. My point is that some people, even if they pass the exam, could experiment some motivational issues, while at the same time some people that didn't succeed, that didn't pass the exam, were able to maintain their motivation above the line. What must be said is that the global purpose of these exams were to help people to step ahead in the career. It could lead them to very meaningful job with good stability, with very interesting and inspiring projects, very challenging ones. That, however, whatever the condition, we could encounter some motivational issues. So, regarding this first level of observation, I had to dig a little deeper, so to know more about the characteristics about these people I've been working with, so to figure out what were the specifics about a good context for motivation or not. So on the second floor of observation, I figured out two categories of people. The first one, which is the smaller on this slide, was like a reference group. It was a group of people who can be motivated even if they didn't pass the exam. And the characteristic of these people were that for them the exam was a tool to build a career. It wasn't an end. They were very committed, they were focused, they had a vision of what being a manager was. They had an idea of that, and they were very passionate. They were ready to build their careers through action plans, and most of all, they were ready for change and growth. They were very responsible for their success or for their failure. On the other hand, the other group of people were the unmotivated people groups. These people could experiment motivational issues even if they passed the exam. And as a matter of fact, for them, the exam was just an end. It was an administrative step. They were not at ease at all with the exams. Sometimes they were questioning it. They could be very self-righteous because they had a diploma and a lot of experience in the job. They wouldn't admit to give any legitimacy to these exams. And for most of them, they had great expectations in terms of legitimacy and recognition, and they were taking this exam as a medal, a reward for being a good candidate. And that from a motivation point of view, that wasn't enough. On the third step of my observation, what I figured out as obvious is that the people who encountered motivational issues were too much focused on the shell, which means that they were focused on the image of a manager. They were focused on belonging to a caste, to a group. They were focused on the status, on the label. Or they were too much focused on the idea of being a manager, but they weren't able to fill in the shell of the post they would like to get to with purpose, with meaning, and with concrete action plans. Eventually, I figured out that the word legitimacy and recognition could be misunderstood and used in very wrong ways. That's the reason why this slide is called "We Are Totally Wrong About Legitimacy and Recognition." My point is that a lot of people in our modern society get their legitimacy from their label, from the title, or from their positions, and this is not a good legitimacy because it could be questioned by the employees or the agents. And as a matter of fact, a good legitimacy is definitely the legitimacy we could get from other people. And we could get that legitimacy through the results we could produce, through the quality of our job. And on the other hand, a lot of people have great expectations in terms of recognition, but a sustainable recognition will be the self-recognition, which means that it's impossible to have someone be watching over our shoulder day after day, saying and telling us how good we are and how thankful they are for the job we made, and so on and so forth. So in our modern society, which is very fast-paced, and which can be very violent, we have to give ourselves self-recognition, and we could go to that through the job we will make, through the results we will produce, and that will help us to give a good recognition. To be more precise about that, two or more people I worked with had very harsh motivational issues with very weird and violent behaviors afterwards, after passing the exams. And I figured out, for example, in one case, that a man who was trying to become an engineer for more than 10 years this man had motivational issues because he was running after a position. He was trying to belong to a group, to a caste, but without purpose. And when he became an engineer, he had to make reports, to talk to the mayor, and to have a strategy and to have a vision. But he wasn't able to because he was always behaving like a technician. And it was, for him, it was a real dead hand. On another hand, this very same person wasn't aware that becoming an engineer, becoming a senior manager, means that we have to personally change, and you have a psychological change to undertake if you want to get to the job. So if I figured out that to get to such positions means that we have to belong to a group with a strong meaning. So once again, we'll have to fill in the shell of the job, and we have to be aware about the change it will provoke. About the coaching process, I tried to help these people with action plans and very small questions that could help them to build up sustainable answers. For example, I should ask them, how do you plant cypress in the border of the main street? So as becoming managers, they would answer, well, I will launch a committee, I will schedule a meeting, and so on and so forth. But it wasn't enough anymore. My question was, what's your plan? What will be your job? How would you get the legitimacy from your technicians and from your secretaries and so on and so forth to fill in the shell of your job? And the answer of the question to the question about the cypress is that, first of all, you have to buy cypress. You have to make sure you have all the resources to plant the cypress. You have to make sure that the street won't be available for cars the day of, or you will start to dig the holes, to dig the earth, and so on and so forth. So I helped them to reconnect the vision they had of being a manager with the concrete actions they would have to lead on the daily basis. My point was to help them to produce results, so to get them to true legitimacy and to be able to give themselves a good recognition. Eventually, I figured out that, as many coaching processes, what I've been through led me from a punctual state, which was some people want to become managers through exams, to something more structural, which was that people have to grow, have to be aware of that growth, and have to improve themselves and to have a true vision of what their goal was before starting to try to pass the exams. And regarding the Maslow pyramid, we can see on that slide, my conclusions were that the third stage is very important for any human being. Belonging to a group is very important, but on the professional context, we have to belong to some groups, but with a strong meaning. It isn't enough to become an engineer just because we want to be called engineer. About esteem, self-esteem, or outside esteem, esteem from other people, it's important to have this esteem, but in our modern world, we have to look for balanced esteem, which means give ourselves good recognition and wait less for outside recognition. And about growth, what was important is that it's important to evolve, to improve ourselves, but we have to accept all the changes that will come afterwards, after this strong willing of ours. Thanks a lot for your attention. Grazie mille a tutti.